So I currently have a position in Sold USDC over on Orca. It's a smaller portion of my portfolio, but a little over 10%. It currently has about 7.8k in it, and I'm going to be walking you through my live rebalance scenario, like what I would do in this situation where I'm out of range, I'm not earning fees, I'm not earning cash flow, and I want to get back to a point where I am earning cash flow. I'm going to walk you through all the situations, go over which situation might be best for this scenario, and truth be told, we really don't know what's best for the scenario until after it happens and after things play out. So we're going to be walking through that process today. We're going to be dropping some hot sauce in this video. There's going to be a lot of value here, so make sure to lock in, make sure to drop a like, and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys want to be updated on the latest DeFi strategies and just overall content. And I got a challenge for you guys. Let me know down below in the comment section what your favorite hot sauce actually is. I love this Tabasco Chipotle hot sauce. I actually pick this up when I go to Chipotle. I put it on my burrito. Sometimes I hand it to them over the counter. I say, hey man, you need to put this in. Tastes so good. Try it out if you go to Chipotle. But I'm going to walk you through this process basically. So I have a range 199.98 to 259.98. We're going to paste this over on Metrics Finance because this is the main analysis tool that we use. And as you can see, we are out of range. Now, one thing that I want you to pay attention to, and this is my first lesson within rebalancing, the first lesson within our rebalancing framework in DeFi Legacy, do not rush the rebalance. And the reason why is exactly what you see right here. As soon as I saw it go out of range, which was probably over in this time frame, because truth be told, we really never do see it as soon as it flips out of range. It's always a couple hours after, which is always a worse price than when we initially went out of range, right? I could have rebalanced over here, locked in a buttload of divergence loss to the point where it would have been better holding in the market, right? And that divergence loss, yes, it's lower gains whenever the market rises, but it's still gains, so it's not as hurtful. Whereas when the market falls, it's actually higher losses. So that's where it starts to sting like a bee. When we look over here, by not rushing the rebalance, just letting it play its part, you can see the market is playing out in my favor and it's starting to come back in range. So right now is a point where I would want to rebalance. Even though it is right on the edge of my range at roughly 200, I would rebalance right now. And the reason why is because I want to get back in the pool and start to earn more fees. And when I do rebalance, I'm not just shifting my range overall from like 259 all the way down over here and then bringing a bunch of room down over here. It's not the strategy that I'm executing on. The strategy that I'd be executing on is simply broadening my range. So by just simply adding a little bit of exposure to the downside, that divergence loss that I lock in is minimal compared to the overall amount being locked in because we have to sell a bunch of the asset. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Because that's a bunch of fancy words in one sentence, right? Which can get confusing. Certainly was confusing to me when I was a beginner. Basically, what I mean is at current point, I have roughly 39 Solana tokens in the position or $7,810. And that's 100%. I have no USDC in the position because keep in mind, as the price goes down, we buy up Solana. As the price goes up, we sell Solana in these types of positions. If I were to rebalance my position to the point where perhaps I have a min price of 185, I don't adjust my max price, you can see I'm selling roughly 21% of the overall position for USDC, which means only 21% of the divergence loss is getting locked in. Yes, technically all of it's getting locked in on a position by position basis because we do have to enter into a new position. But when we look at what we would recoup when we get back to the initial entry price, it'll be substantially more compared to if we were to shift the entire range. And I want to go ahead and map that out for you. So I have this position tracker right here. This is something that we use within Legacy. I have two positions over on the Solana network, Sol USDC and Sol Pyth. Pyth is doing great, right? Yes, it's down, but it's doing 112% APR and it's a $226 profit compared to holding in the market. It's great. Sold USDC again, this one isn't meant to profit compared to holding in the market, but it's basically break even. It's down roughly $4 compared to holding in the market. Down a $500 loss. Not bad whatsoever. 77% APR. Granted, this could be 90% if I was in range fully, but I haven't been in range fully because I've been out of range the past couple days, which has been tanking my APR. So if we look closely, my initial deposit was at Solana price of roughly $219. So not too far off from where we're currently at. And I deposited a total of roughly $8,474, which means at current period, we have $7,810. So if you follow me, we started with 8,474. Now we have $7,810. Keep in mind, some of this is actually offset by the earnings that we have in the position, which puts us at a little bit lower of a loss basically. And this right here is position one within the overall strategy. Let's just assume. Now, granted, I haven't had multiple positions in the past, but I want to show you specifically on this scenario. So it's simple. We move on into position two, where we start with $7,810, right? And in that position, we're starting with roughly 80% SOL and 20% USDC. And if we simulate that position performance, whenever SOL goes to our initial entry price of roughly $219, we'll have $8,296, which will put us right over here, $8,296. Yes, we are finalizing some divergence loss. We went back to our initial entry price, but we have less. We have roughly $180 less between what we started with and what we actually have at the very end of this position. Now, granted, we're going to collect fees during that time period, but by rebalancing and locking in about 20% of divergence loss, it hurts. It stings right there. But it could be worse. Here we assume a range width of about 30%. So if we were to just go back to a basic range, like most people will do, of let's just say plus 15%, minus 15%, and then we go up to $219, we'll have $8,038, which is substantially lower than what we had when we initially started with. We had the same price that we started with, $220 per Solana token, but we have more than $400 less in this position because we locked in too much divergence loss. Now, another perfect scenario, right? Let's just say we're out of range on our range of 200 to 260, and let's just assume that we slightly, ever so slightly, move that down to 195, right? So we just barely moved it down, and we go to $219. We have $8,387, which is roughly a $90 difference. So that would have been the best circumstance. But in this instance, the best circumstance probably would have just been to hold in the position itself and not go with any of these crazy rebalance scenarios, basically. And the reason why is because as soon as we go back to our price of $219, we will have what we started with, basically $8,400, nearly $8,500. Pretty simple concept. Now, granted, these parameters are going to be a little bit off. As you can see right here, it's roughly a $40 discrepancy. That's because I'm not using the exact prices that I entered at. So that right there is my live sold USDC rebalance strategy. Again, if we were to just recap everything, there are a couple different things that you could do. You could rebalance, same exact range size, add an equal amount. That's going to be your worst case scenario. You could rebalance and just hug the side a little bit, add a little bit of room so that way you can stay in range. And then, of course, the other instance, which a lot of the times is going to be the best instance, and you should do either way, is not to rush the rebalance. Wait 48 hours or so you don't end up locking in a bunch of divergence loss. This is what I personally do in my portfolio. This is what institutions do in their portfolio because we have mapped out what they do in their portfolio. This is what our DeFi Excel and DeFi Legacy members are doing in their portfolio. And guys, that's something that I also want to go and mention. As soon as I execute a rebalance on this sold USDC strategy, I am keeping my DeFi Excel and Legacy communities up to date. So if you guys are potentially interested in working with myself, gaining some insight from my 4 years of experience in this industry, and you feel like I'm a good fit to coach you personally, make sure to check out one of the links down below in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.